Okay, so as I was just saying, we are going to continue our comics. So I'm trying to do two things at once and not knowing how to do either. So hopefully you've done your penciling. I haven't, so be working on that. If you haven't, that's fine. It's up to you to do it. But what I want to do today is focus on doing some inking. So I'll be using like Sharpies and felt tips. So if you have those or something similar, some thin markers, pens possibly, which pens don't always draw great over pencil. Or you could just press harder with your pencils or use a darker pencil. So we're doing that today, and then I'll show you some sort of hatching techniques, which we've done before in the past, but sort of show you other ways you can use them. So is everyone finished doing their pencils for at least one page? Kai has. Didja, have you finished at least one page of pencils? Misha has, yeah. Audrey, have you? Thinking about it? Just one page. Doesn't have to be the whole story. Like I haven't even done one page. I've only done half a page. So I actually forgot about James. I guess that thumbs up means yes, you have. Okay, so why don't I just start doing that then? So I'm just going to use this Sharpie. It's a regular Sharpie, although it does say fine point, but it's pretty thick and it doesn't have much of a point because it's an old one. I'm just going to use that to draw around my my borders. Now, remember to have paper underneath because the markers might soak in and go through. You can use a ruler for this stuff, but I like to do it freehand. So I'm just doing, sort of getting a feel for it, and then I'm just going to draw a straight line. And if you feel like it's getting too far out of your reach, stop, and then you can always come back and do it again. Now up here I've got speech bubble over the top of my line, so I don't want to draw over that. So I'm just going to start from that and come back, turning my hand as I go. Let's go over it a second time if you feel like you need to clean up some of those lines. Don't forget to turn the page around so that it works with the way that your hand goes. And by that I mean I'm left-handed, so the curve, this curve is good for me. But if I was right-handed, I can't do those curves very well. I'd have to turn it around this way so I can do that curve. So yeah, I'll just keep doing that. It looks like from doing that my marker might be running out, so I might have to swap at some point. It looks like if I go slow enough, there's enough ink in it. So just take note of where your speech bubbles are, if there's any characters that pop out of the panels that cross the borders, because you don't want to draw over the top of them. And don't worry too much. If you're doing it freehand like I am, don't worry too much about messing it up, because you can see here it's a bit thicker. See there where it's a bit thicker? It's because my finger bumped. So I was coming down, I went bonk. So I just went over it again, try and hide it a bit. But they're all sort of a bit wobbly anyway, so it doesn't really matter. On this panel too, I don't like how this one meets up. So I'm making a decision now, even though I've started penciling, to bring this panel in a bit. So I'm making this one a bit shorter. So I might make this one a bit shorter as well, just so they match and the page is symmetrical. So just take some time doing that. And if you get up to, like I haven't drawn these pages in yet, so I'm just going to trace these 4 panels, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Then I'll pencil these ones, and then I'll come back and trace around them again. But just think about how thick you want your panels to be. I like them to be like have thick outlines and be rather chunky. That's just a personal preference. You might like really thin lines on your panels. I think you definitely, though, do need space between your panels. Unless you're doing one of those bigger panels, like almost a full page panel that then has smaller panels inside. They're obviously not going to have white border or black border around them. I mean, in between them. Yeah, so just sort of that kind of thing. Get that done. And then, where's my lid? There it is. And then you can look at getting your thinner felt tip pens or a darker pencil, things like that, and doing the inside sections. And then when you are doing those inside sections, don't worry about doing hatching and shading and all that kind of stuff. Just outline the whole thing first, or everything that's going to need to be outlined. So I'm doing these speech bubbles. Didn't quite line up. And see how there's a bit of a mess between the edge here? So I'm just going to color that in so it looks like it goes behind. Just using that fine felt tip pen. So you get in there and hide those gaps. Just solidifying these notes, coloring them in. And yeah, remember, if you do a mistake, you can cover it up by coloring things in, turning something black. Like even with the border there, if I did like the way I messed it up here, I could then decide to color that whole bottom section of the border black, so it hides my mistake on the border. So don't be too upset if you make those little mistakes. So this is our second last lesson for the term. So next week, it'd be cool if these were finished, and then you'd have something to show your parents, and then maybe even it could inspire you to then do more comics over the school holidays. It's only a short holiday, I think it's only 2 weeks. Yeah, so, and then you could even add color and stuff like that to it as well, and see how much of a story you can make over that time period. So I'm going to do a bit of this character now. Still using the filter pen. I could probably do something a little thicker, but I can also get away with that by just tracing it sort of twice and making that line a little thicker. So I'm tracing the line next to the line, or going over it, and then slightly moving the pen over. So I've got some nice thick lines on the arm there by doing roughly about 3 of these lines. And I like that thickness for this character. So those bold lines do make things stick out and pop. So maybe the backgrounds will have very thin lines and the character will have thicker lines. I don't think I've got a thicker felt tip pen there. Actually, I do. I actually might have smaller ones, not thicker ones. So even now drawing this guy, I'm thinking, oh, I might do some shading under the curve of his body here and on the back. So I'm thinking about what I'm going to do next as I'm tracing, and I'm looking at each part of the image or the character or the background. And with these thin felt tips, you can do little, oh, look at that, I just messed that up pretty bad. I zoomed in. I did a double line on his chin, but that's fine. I will just thicken up the rest of this. And it just looked like you have a thin, thick line on the bottom. But I can try and smooth it out. What was I saying? Oh, yes, with the felt tip pen, you can do little flicks. Sort of what I did on the lip, just on this side. So it's thicker here, and then as I flick it off and come up off the page, it makes a very thin point. So you can add thick and thin lines to your drawings as well. You might even make the decision to have no hatching on your characters and a lot of hatching in your background, which means then that the characters are very plain, the backgrounds are very busy, and so the characters pop and they look, they stand out a lot more within the background. I'm just adding a few more building details in this city, just to fill in that area a bit more. And they don't have to be finished off, they can just sort of be a bit abstract. Might make a little double story one. So I just want to look like there's a lot of buildings and it's very crowded kind of suburbia. Very similar houses. And then I'll get into the buildings. And some of those I'm going to show some windows. I'm going to start drawing in windows and things. Maybe I need a few more signs and things as well. So we don't have to draw every window in a building either. I just realized I didn't have the chat open. So if you've been talking to me in there, I'm sorry I haven't been looking. You're a bit clear and impossible. Sorry, Risheng, I was just reading the notes. You don't have to do this. I just thought it'd be a nice thing to do, a nice practice from just regular drawing. because some people might be interested in making comics. I know it's something I'm interested in, and I have done in the past. I think I've shown you some of my comics. And if you're not interested, then you can draw something else. And we're not going to do this every time. It's just these last few weeks of this term in particular. Next term, we might do something else. But if there is certain things you guys want to do, let me know. You can send me a message on Instagram and a message even into Brilliant Kids, or ask me in class, in these classes, and I will do my best to prepare and get things ready for next term on brand new things that we're going to do. That's right, Kai. Give you something to do over the holidays. Is anyone going away for the holidays? Anyone got any plans? I think I'm going to Jamboree Recreation Park. Possibly. Rushang, have you shown, I think you did, like, isn't your first panel about, like, it's just a big city and it's about things happening in the city? Is that right? Hang on, let me just ask you to unmute. There you go.
Do you want to see like part of it?
Yeah, I want to see as much as I can.
Well, there's like words, but they're probably going to be too small for you to read.
That's fine.
Okay.
Hopefully I'll get an idea just by looking at it.
Oh no, the lights. So that's like
yeah,
the first one.
yeah, I remember that first panel. Yeah, with those.
And then there's
angles.
this.
Yeah, I can't really tell what's happening. Just what's the guy doing? Just standing there, just walking along.
Yeah, he's just walking along. It's like on the
Okay.
street, and there's like a car next to him.
Okay, and what's in the bottom panel or the next panel down?
Like probably
Big
car.
building.
Yeah.
Is that a
Like
building?
that's like
Yeah.
where he works.
Yeah. Okay. They're pretty cool. I like those panels. They're sort of
And
laid
then
out nice. You've got some nice angles and
there's like
stuff.
the next page. I've only done like the thick borders on these two. I haven't gone up to the next one.
That's okay. So it's a guy again. Is he a bird man?
He's supposed to be a platypus, but I haven't been adding beaver tails because I can't be bothered.
Okay. So he's furry with the duck bill.
Yeah.
And that's an elevator.
Mm-hmm.
And click. And then is that him walking into the elevator?
It's just him in the elevator.
Oh,
yeah.
in the elevator. Okay. Yep.
And then there's this next one, and he's like looking side by like both sides, I think.
Oh, okay.
Then, yeah, like there's like two bills. You can see.
Yep, I can see that.
And then on the next.
And then what's
one,
happening in that one? What's happening there?
he's scanning his hands, like I think a print scanner thing.
Oh, okay. So it's like a secret exit in the elevator, or it goes to the floor.
Yeah, he puts his hands on like the floor button, and then he goes inside.
And foosh, a foosh. Yeah, okay. And I can't tell what the next one is after foosh.
Oh, it's just like there's like a hole there, so that he walks through.
Okay. Yep. Should he be in that?
After that, there should be there's like an image of the place that he goes to.
Okay.
And then next to it, there's like a thing.
Confidential.
Yeah, and then beneath that, there's just me going ham on just drawing stuff.
Okay. Well, like just today, like focus on that first panel with the.
I feel like you should probably ignore the right.
The right. Yeah, I can't remake that. This looks like a bunch of buildings. Oh, is it like a bunch of screens and lights and things, is it? I can't hear you for some reason. You've gone mute even though you're not mute on Zoom. Has a cord popped out somewhere? Because I can't hear you. Hang on, let me ask you to unmute again. If you're talking, I still can't hear you.
Hello?
Oh, there you go. Now I can hear you. Oh, you're mute again. Hang on. I was going to unmute.
Okay.
Now,
Anyway, like on the bottom, there's like this, blah blah blah.
and what is that? Was that like
It's just like a
inside?
panel of his like secret stuff. Like
Yeah, okay, that's what I thought it was. Yeah, like supercomputer kind of stuff.
no, it's like weapons and then secret secret like hidden weapons and his shirt and stuff.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, and then on the bottom there's him again. Like I've started covering in like this like shade adding the shading in these last panels.
Yeah.
It's just like him at a desk and he's like reading the thing.
Okay. Mhm. I can
And
see
then
that.
and then over here, I don't know how much you can see. Because I myself can't see what you're looking at.
Well, it looks like there's a desk there, and this says click.
Yeah, okay. And then the next
Then,
one,
yeah. What's happening in that one? It looks like a big person and a small person.
no, it's him going down like these tubes to his
Ah,
like vehicle and stuff, and then there's
yeah.
like other people next to him,
Okay, cool.
and they're like
Alright.
own tubes.
Well, I think just focus on one of the pages. I'd suggest the first page, and
I'm thinking of doing the first page. But the
and
thing is, I've
just
already started shading the last one, so I don't know.
well, don't do shading. Just do some outlining, and then do some more detail. Have you got felt tip pens there?
Yeah, but I think I should just stay with pencil. I think.
Okay.
Because if
Or
I
just
like
define
press
some of
harder,
the
then you should be fine. Yeah.
just define some of the lines then with the pencil, like
Yeah.
darken them up or something.
Okay.
I think that's the way to go. Cool. All right, Riley, how you going there? Sitting on the floor. How's your comic? Do you want to talk about it? I'll ask it on here.
I'm finished.
You finished?
Yeah. I
Yeah,
haven't
let's
done
have a look.
anything, but I've done the drawing part of the pen part.
Oh, okay. Is that just a normal pen or is that a felt tip?
It's
It looks like a felt tip.
permanent one. This one.
Oh yeah, that's pretty good. That's pretty good to use as a felt tip.
Yeah.
So have you been using that?
Yeah. I used to on it.
So do you want to show us the pages you've been working on?
Okay. I've got one page. So
Yeah, let's have a look.
it starts off with this little guy in this pod,
The
and
bigger man.
the planet is getting crushed like in this also. Anyway, after that, he gets stronger. That's him. That's his great grandpa who saved his planet.
Okay.
Also,
He's got
he's
little muscles.
stronger.
Yeah.
And after this, this is my bad guy. His name's Bacon. He's Bacon Lord, and
Mhm.
saying me because he loves himself so much, and he wants to get Pickle Boy because he hates how strong he is.
Yeah.
And then Pickle Boy wins against him, and he says he's a nice table. And then over here, after I said the end, he's like, I hate this story, boo.
That's good. There was some other writing there, wasn't there? Just in pencil. Was there writing in the comic that's just in pencil that you haven't traced over yet? If so, I would do that next. Sorry, I didn't realize you'd taken yourself off mute. Yeah, try going over that. Make sure you spelt it correctly too. Maybe get someone to proofread it for you. Amisha, did you want to talk about yours? Yeah? Okay. I thought I saw you with your hand up.
I just finished my 1 page of outlining it.
Yeah? Can
It's
you hold it up so we have a look?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. It's nice and neat. Cool. And have you done all the text as well?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Just remind me again what happens in that one, because I can't read it. It's too small to read. What happens in your story again?
It's just basically about school. So like this guy comes to school. He doesn't know much, basically like my friend. And then teacher asks him the question and then he gets it wrong. Yes.
Mhm.
And then teachers always say try again. So then he tried it then again and he got it correct. I have more pages though. to do.
Okay. So he keeps trying and then he starts getting it right.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, that's a story. Okay. So you're sort of at your sort of hatching stage, aren't you? Where you want to add some details and stuff. So once you've finished inking a panel or a page, you want to then rub out all those pencil lines. So I don't know if you can really see, I've got some pencil lines like across his face, things like that. So I'm holding the page. So see, it's between my fingers there and my thumb here. And I'm going to rub in between there. Because if you don't hold the page, or even rub away, so rubbing that way and then up, and then down, and then rub, and then up and down, and rub. If you don't hold the page, it can crinkle up and then ruin your drawing. So I want to make sure I've gotten rid of all those pencil lines that I've traced. I don't want to erase the ones I haven't traced. It's just going to make more work for myself. So erasing. And even the ones in the border. Oh, oops, camera. We want to get rid of those. So then we just have our inked lines visible, nothing else. That's about it. Okay, so then I'll get my felt tip. Oh, sorry, Vijay, have you got a question there? Riley, have you got a question? I can't see your hand up. Oh, it is up. Sorry, Riley was first. Vijay, sorry. Riley, you got a question there?
My writing's too small. The pen's just getting making
Okay. Maybe you have to use like a biro, like a regular pen or something.
I'll get
Like
one.
that. Okay. Sorry, Vijay. You got a question?
When he told me to put something when she says what, I put the fish. I made the fish look sad and then go back into his cave.
Okay. All right. Okay, so I'm going to show you guys some hatching techniques now. So on this one, it's pretty boring. I might do just some very simple kind of hatching shadow just on the outside of this guy's face. It's just a basic line spaced out, evenly spaced. Even on his hands, I could do it. But it's all on one side as if the light's coming from this direction and hitting him. And then so this is shadow on this side. You could do the same with just shading with a pencil. But also because the background's pretty large and there's not much happening, do you remember the uneven lines? Which is, let me see, I can draw this one. The uneven lines where you sort of do 4 or 5 strokes of one, 4 or 5 strokes of a line and they're never matching and never meet up and never face the same way, the ones that are next to each other or touching, like that kind of thing. So I could do that just in the background, just to fill in some areas. I don't have to do the whole thing either. So I'm just going to add some of that in. Just to add a bit of texture to the space behind him. So you can see how it's just sort of filling in the space there. And I might not go all the way down. I might just sort of leave it around here. And I won't go all the way across. I'll just sort of fade it off a bit. Okay, just so it's not quite as boring an empty space. I could fill the whole thing, but I might just leave it like that. I mean, I could add in a color in there as well. So then on this one, I might add in a few just little clouds sort of like this as well, just to sort of help make it look like a sky. But I think this would benefit from having a bit of black. So maybe I'll do, actually maybe the buildings in the very back, I'll make these black. And as they come forward, I'll make them lighter. So I'm just gonna color in some of them. Sort of just doing the big areas, and then I'll come back and fix it up with the felt tip. This one's so if you've got a lot of panels where there's not much happening, just a character standing there talking, or you know, or even two characters, and there's just not much detail in the background, then you can just do this kind of thing, or just a color. It doesn't have to be the same color. Like look at I think it's like Garfield comics. They just have usually the table that Garfield's sitting on, or the ground, and the wall color changes all the time, especially in the older ones. I don't know about the new ones. No, I don't read a lot of Garfield, but check those out. So I'm just coloring in these dark areas all the way to the edges. Like that. So now I've got a bunch of black buildings. So then maybe this building and this one, maybe this little factory and this space in here, I'm going to do a bunch of hatching, just so they seem darker. I'm showing, I just saw your note about Garfield eating lasagna. So I could even do this. I could have done this where it was the bottom of the buildings that were dark and the tops were light, just to show that the sun was like coming down on them. But this is enough for now, I think. The key is getting the lines to go the whole way down the shape. Don't stop them part way. Okay, so they've got a bit of difference in there. I'm thinking like I've still got a couple of buildings. Maybe this big one and this big one should have those lines, the hatching lines like this as well. But I don't want them to look the same as these ones. So those first lot I did with hatching, 1, 2, 3, 4, I might turn them into cross hatching. So I'll do some lines the other way. Just so now that they'll be slightly darker than the ones in front. So you can see I've got black, dark gray, and then gray. So just some easy hatching. Like we've learned about it a few times, but we haven't really put it in to practice. Now's our chance. I want you to use the skills that I'm teaching you so you can decide whether or not it's something you want to do with your drawings in the future. You don't have to, but you should always be open to trying new things, especially art things. You can see how I'm getting some gradients now in those buildings. If I do the lines a little bit further apart, then they're going to look a little bit lighter. And the closer together I do those lines, it's going to look darker. So this McDonald's sign I might color in a bit so it stands out a bit more. It's not too important that it does, but okay. So now it feels like there's a bit of depth happening in there. Even these houses at the front, I could actually make those dark. Even though I drew nice hatching on that one. And like I said, it's going to fix up my lump. So I've colored in the thing back. Like that. And then the next one's back. I could do some of the cross hatching on them. Or even just a very close hatching like this. I might avoid the area of the roof where I've done that. It was going to be a McDonald's on M for Mario, but sure, it can be Mario for this Mario. Well, I got tattooed on my arm. Turn these into the cross-hatching ones. And then these ones back here, you can just have some very light, spaced out hatching. It does take a while, but you know, it's if you want to make art, you have to spend time doing it. If it's something you're passionate about, it shouldn't be too painful to do. It's like anything really. As long as you make it worthwhile, make it fun, enjoy it. As soon as you don't enjoy it, it becomes a job and you don't like it anymore. So there you go. There's my city sort of hatched in. So there's my first 2 panels inked. So this one just had, I'll get you a question in a minute, Rochelle. Just a little bit of, what's it called again? Uneven hatching in the background. Very simple hatching here. And then here I've got solid black buildings in the front, solid black buildings in the back. The next layer has cross hatching, horizontal, vertical cross hatching. Same with the second layer of buildings. Third layer of buildings have just one direction hatching and the buildings in the back. And then I've just got some white ones. So I left the white ones sort of in this area where the arrow points to, because it's sort of showing that's where we're looking at. So like even this building here, I might just add a few lines in so it doesn't stand out as much. So there's a white building there and a white building there. So that's going to be the focal point. Got some white areas here I might fill in. And then, yeah, and then I'll move on. So that's how you should think about your buildings and, well, your backgrounds and stuff. Try and add some details in. And even if you don't have details, then add some texture in. Whether you could just draw some brick walls or, you know, some uneven hatching, or just color them black, even do the random lines, one that's all like scribbly, stuff like that. Rishon, have you got a question there?
Oh, it's been like 40 minutes and I've done only 1 panel. I finally
one?
finished my first panel.
Yeah, well, yours was very detailed as well. I can imagine it would take you a long time to do. And that's the benefit of doing empty panels and adding in just some shading or something like that, or even just a color. It could even be like a gradient, so a dark, say it's a blue, so you go dark blue to light blue, or even you go from one color to another and do gradients through. It makes it a lot easier. You just draw the characters and stuff. But yeah, I did notice that when you showed that first panel, I'm like, wow, that's a lot of detail. It's going to take you a while to do the whole thing.
No, I finally finished the elevator bit.
Oh, okay, cool.
Not like the elevator rooms, but like the final bit, the final one.
The final panel of the whole comic?
Well, yeah, of what I have right now anyway.
Oh, okay, cool, good. It takes a long time.
Luckily, I have a couple of text boxes, which is just words.
Yeah, they'll fill up the space, but try not to do heaps of text as well. You don't want to have a big, like a panel, say this size, and just fill it with text, because no one wants to read that.
Well, I did one, but then that's just like telling you like what, like introducing the characters properly.
Yeah.
But
But even if you're doing that, you want to, like, say for example, you're introducing the characters in these panels. I would have a little box of text, and then a box of text, and a box of text, maybe 2 in that one. You could do, 2 or 1 in each of these boxes, just so it's breaking up.
No. I just have like the you know how I had like a classified folder.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wrote like the stuff in that, and that was like
Okay, so it's little
basically
bits
like
all over the
what
place.
happened at the beginning, and it just like tells you what it is.
Yeah, no, that seems cool. That should work. Yeah.
And
Okay.
I have to make them more visible.
Yeah. Oh, we've only got like 15 minutes left too. It's going quick, this one. All right. Who we got next? We got Jensen. You got a question, or you want to show something? Comment?
I was just gonna say that do we color it?
You can if you want. If you're going to use markers to color or textures, sometimes they react with the ink in the Sharpies and the ink will bleed. So you could just say you're going to color this guy in yellow, it'll be yellow, but then this black line will merge into it and you get like a dirty yellow color. So maybe have you been inking with a felt tip? Have you inked it with a felt tip, or is it just pencil?
Yeah, I've done ink.
Okay, so what I would do is get another page that you've got some ink on, and then get your marker. Hang on, I'm just looking for something that it's not a marker, but it's similar to. So this is a felt tip pen, but it's blue. And then so you have your felt tip there, and then get your marker, and then just go over the top of it and let it dry. Actually, you know what? I've got markers here. I'll do it and show you. Where are they? Okay, so I've got a couple of markers there. Here is Sharpie, 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 and then some felt tip. So the Sharpie is Sharpie brand, the felt tip is Artline brand. These markers are Reno Art. This one's a Copic. That's a Reno Art as well. So I'll just, hopefully this will work, this will bleed. So I'm going to use the wedge. And if I go over, that's not bad, that's all. But let's see if I make it really wet and do a lot of ink on there. There's a little bit of bleed. I don't know if you can see it. See there where it's a scribbly line?
Yeah.
Get someone to point to. Here where the black lines are very close, there's a little bit of bleed, but here where they're separate, there's a little bit on the ends. So it's bleeding sort of there and there.
Okay.
But so yeah, that's okay. And let's see it over the Sharpie. Yeah, if I make it wetter, can you see that? See how it's smudged up?
Yeah.
So yeah, that one reacts to it a bit.
Okay.
So just do a little practice like I've done here. And just see, like just draw over it like that, but then also make it really wet. So even the Copics, when it gets really wet, can you see
Okay.
it? It's bleeding like on the edges as well.
Okay.
I did back when Iron Lac is a brand of they do a bunch of spray paints and a lot of art supplies. They used to have stores, they don't anymore. I bought a bunch of Iron Lac markers from them. I went into the store and they had all these testers like they do at Officeworks. They have like marker testers and pen testers. So they've got like it's like set up where all their rows of, it sort of looks like a shelf. They got rows of their pens sitting in here, and then along this section is a pad, and so you can scribble on here with all the different pens in Officeworks and try them out. So what I did at Iron Lac was I went and I got a bunch of their felt tip pens and did the same thing there, made a bunch of scribbly lines, then went and got I think out of my bag that I had with me, the Iron Lac markers, and I just used the markers over all the different kinds of felt tips they had. And I found the felt tip that didn't bleed, and then I bought a bunch of those. So it's worthwhile like doing these little tests so you don't spend a bunch of money on art supplies and then they don't work together. You want to make sure that the markers are going to work with your felt tips. And things like that. And it looks like these ones only really smudge when it's really wet. So it might be good just to do like a quick go over, let it dry, and then if you want more color or a darker color, go over it again. So it'll take a bit longer to do. But if you're going to use pencils and stuff, then yeah, you can just shade in. Textures probably won't bleed as much, have the ink bleed, but pencils will be fine. If you're going to use watercolor pencils or watercolor, that would bleed a lot. So I think these are water-based or they're alcohol-based. Sometimes the markers are alcohol-based, sometimes they're not. Usually if they're smelly, they're alcohol-based. Cool, so I'm just looking, the markers always bleed no matter what I do. Kai, of course you're using the wrong brand, as like I said. Actually, I don't know which ones I ended up getting. Kai, you could just mess around, like I said, go to Officeworks and find some that don't work, that do work. So take a marker that you use to Officeworks and then try out some of their felt tip pens on this little thing, and then get your marker and draw over them, and it might you might find one that doesn't bleed. Okay, sorry, James, you got a question there because we're running out of time. Oh, alcohol-based ones, yeah.
Use chapters.
Sorry, what was that, James?
Are we allowed to use chapters?
To use what? Sorry, it's very quiet. I can't hear. I don't know what you're saying. Do you want to write that in the chat? Because I can't hear what you're saying. Sounds like you're saying cat food. I'm pretty sure you're not saying cat food. Oh, chapters. Okay. Yeah, you can use chapters if you've got a very long story and you want to break it up. Definitely do chapters. I'm sorry about that. You said cat food. That's not good. Amisha, what have you got? Oh no, you're going. Do you want to say something, Amisha? Yeah. Okay. Unmute.
I just finished inking my second page.
Oh wow. Okay, that's cool. I was going to show you. These are my my iron lac ones, and so they've got a wedge at one end and a fine tip. Sorry, Amisha, I'll have a look at yours in a second. So there's the fine tip. It's not that fine. Sort of like a normal texture. And this is the wedge. But these are tri-tip. They are alcohol based, it says there. Twin marker refillable, which is good. So I don't think they work that well with the felt tip, the Artline ones. Oh, actually, that's pretty good. Yeah, there's no leaking at all. No bleeding, I should say, with that. So that one, they work. So those work together, the iron lac and the Artline. But I've got iron lac felt tips as well. I think you can only buy them online now because they shut down all their stores. Yeah, so there's proof that it does work. Sometimes it just depends on the combination. Sorry, Amisha, do you want to go back? Sorry, I know you just went mute again. Do you want to talk about your comic?
Yeah.
Sorry. Okay, cool. So can we have a look at the top, that first panel really close? Because it looks like it's a lot of detail. Oh, it's just, where'd you go? It's just a lot of shading in the background. Yeah, that's cool. See, if that one, if you added some color in the background, like just one color and nothing on the characters would pop out. Like if the characters were white and you did like a light color in the background, even though it's got all that texture, it looked really good and it will pop with that light. Actually, in the last few minutes, I might show you this one with some. You'll come out. Like you could even do shading with grays, because you have. I don't know if you can see the ends of this. Those are. Who's that? Amisha, someone's dying in your house. I'm just going to mute you. These are two different grays, but see how this one looks white and this one looks blue? It's because there's warm grays and cool grays. So there's gray that's made with, sorry, I showed you the wrong one. This one, that's a warm gray. Let me just hold the camera with that hand for a second. Yeah, these two. So this one here that I'm wiggling is a cool gray, so it's got a blue base. And this one is a warm gray, so it's got like a red base. So what I could do, these are Graphic Duo, they're not Artline. I think they're on sale somewhere, so I just picked them up. So let's just check that they work with the Artline. Yeah, they don't seem to bleed. bit dark, so I might not use that one. The other thing too is when you buy markers, make a cheat sheet, is what I call it. Let me see if I can find it here. Basically, it's a piece of paper. There it is. A piece of paper where you color a little bit of every color you have and write down the numbers that's printed on the ends so that you know that this is what the color is going to look like, because the color on the end doesn't always look like the color that comes out. So I've got this for my brush pens and my felt tip pens, so I know how big they are. And then for all of my colors as well, with the codes that are written on the lids or on the pens themselves. So yeah, that's a cheat sheet. It's not really cheating at all. It's smart thinking. So I'm just going to color this one in, just to show that you can do some color, even in black and white. A bit dark. I'm trying to use the very edge of the nib. The edge of the nib in these small areas. I could swap it to the other end, which has a small nib, which would be smarter. The thing is, you don't want one bit to dry, just say I started here and I was coming back to there. You don't want that to dry before you meet up to it again, because you end up with edges. Oh, I just went over. Edges in the color. You want it to sort of all be a single color. I'm going to have a bit of it here because I've gone over twice. So there's sort of, I just put in a bit of a gray. And I could do that in some of the buildings as well. If I wanted. These are all the same colors. So just to help some of those buildings, you know, sort of blend in and be dark. I could even color the windows in. If it was nighttime, I'd color the windows in yellow. I'll do this roughly. Oops, that one's meant to be white. Oh well. So I could do that with the buildings in the back as well. I could even introduce a color if I was going to. Let me see what I've got here. If I was going to do just a black and white comic and I want to add a little bit of color now and again, just to enhance things, or like the banana, I could always draw as yellow, paint it yellow. I could just add in a little bit of with a color like that, just to focus in one point. And that could even, you could use like star shape, or even do a gradient out, or just some little lines like that, almost like a star. Basically, I just went out and like that. So then just adds a little bit of color to the page. It could even have been a bit of the figures could just be colors as well. Like it could be red and blue, red for the good guy, blue for the bad guy, that kind of thing. So just play around with things. Like these are just mess around comics that we're doing. So you just practice, try different things, mess around with different markers and different what am I saying? Different markers, different mediums for coloring, whether using pencils or markers, or paints or whatever. Yeah, just have fun with it and try out new things and practice. So we're actually going over time. So that's all I got for today. Next week. Hello?
Yeah, overtime, Evan.
Oh, you went all robotic then, I couldn't hear. So yeah, next week we'll continue with this and we'll do a bit more color and stuff. But have a practice and see, and I'd like to see what you do next time. Like next week, show me the practice you've done with them. It'd be interesting to see. Okay, and that's our last week next week. Oh, what's that, a Kaiser? Cool, nice. Next week is our last week. That's correct, isn't it, Peter?
Yeah, next week's last week, yeah.
Yeah, okay. All right, guys. Thank you again, and I'll see you next week.
Thanks a lot. Lisa.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Have a good